Hi, this is Atticus. You might know my mom Heather from Shine.fm. This is the Shine.fm Momcast. Take it away.
Well, thanks for joining me. I've got Katie Muma here. Full disclosure, we are related. And I'm super proud to be your aunt. She is my niece, but I have wanted to talk to a teacher or someone who's in the teaching profession, just because I've had a lot of teachers in my life with my kids. And I think there's some things that maybe I haven't totally understood or misconceptions that I've had. So first, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and where you are.
Awesome. So thank you so much for having me. I am Katie, like Heather said. She's my awesome aunt. I live in Cleveland currently. I teach second grade. I teach in an urban school, so it's really close to downtown Cleveland. I've been there for 5 years, so this is my 5th year. And I actually teach at the same school as my husband, so which is pretty cool. So Tyler teaches upstairs in the 6th grade, so it's fun. Our dinner tables are full of teacher talk, for sure.
Not such a bad thing, right? Not such a bad thing.
No, it's not.
So tell me why you decided, because how long have you been teaching now?
This is going to be, so once I finish this year, it'll be my 5th year.
Okay. Why did you want to become a teacher?
Yeah, it's funny when I was thinking just in the past, like about why I wanted to become a teacher. I think it's funny. I think I always have wanted to be a teacher. And it's funny because I actually was homeschooled up until high school. So I actually and I always knew I wanted to teach elementary. I'm a second grade teacher, like I said before. So it's funny. My mom was like, I don't know why, you never were in elementary school. So it's funny that you always had that idea.
Yeah.
I went to college. I was set on it and I graduated. So it's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always kind of known.
That's awesome, though. That's really awesome. Did you know second grade? Like, was that something that you were like, yep, those are my people? Or did it just kind of like happen that you were like, okay, I'll try it and it's worked?
I knew like after being in classrooms in college, I really did want the younger. So anywhere from kindergarten to 3rd grade was kind of like, okay, I think this is where I want to be. When I was interviewing for different positions, the second grade job opened up. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like that'll be a good fit. And that has really been a good fit.
Awesome. That's great. So what is the hardest part of teaching for you?
I think first thing that pops in my head is just all the different needs of individual kids. I think it's, just like parenting, each child needs something different. I mean, we have 25 to 30 kids in a classroom and every kid needs something so different, whereas, one kid needs frequent breaks. One kid needs a little extra shove, extra push in his academics. Yeah. And I think that's sometimes hard on the day to day. Some kids are needier than others in a good way, extra love. So that can be sometimes overwhelming on the day to day. Yeah. How do
you deal with that? How do you combat that? What do you do to get through? I mean, it's just like parenting. I mean, I would have tips for parenting, but as a teacher, how do you deal with that?
I mean, as the years, so this is my only 5th year, it gets easier. Obviously, that first year, you're like, whoa, I didn't even realize how different each kid could be. But as you mature and get better at your craft and your teaching, you can see trends. Okay, this is what worked in the past. We're going to stick with that. I see that behavior. I see that child is very active. Okay, we need to do this. Or this child, is really shy. We need to do this. So those years really help. And I understand why you get to 30 years and you're like, okay, I got this a little bit better.
Do you still get nervous like when you start a new school year, like with a new class of students? Like, are you still nervous?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think especially, I've only taught for a few years and there's some classes that have really been difficult. So I definitely have some of those fears like, oh gosh, I hope it's not like last year or, I love all my classes, but there's a few. Whoa, okay, that was crazy.
Well, and like, I know for you taught during COVID. Like, talk to me a little bit about your experience with that, because you did everything online, right?
Our school was one of the few schools in Cleveland that did online the whole way through. We never did any sort of, hybrid. So that was very difficult because I see those kids actually in school now. They're in 5th grade and I never had them in the classroom. Like They were only online. So it's funny to say like, oh, wow, like I kind of know you. And, I kind of know you. I kind of remember some of the interactions we had online, but it's really crazy that I never had them in person.
Mm-hmm. What effects do you see? I mean, because you would have had like those kids that you now have would have been what, like preschool or kindergarten? Because we're now 3 years out. Like, what effects do you see? Because you had like 2 years pre-COVID then. Like, what do you see as the effect that COVID had? I mean, just from your perspective, I'm not going yay or nay on whatever happened, it happened. But like, what, as a teacher, like what effect do you see on those kids who had to school during that time?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen different behaviors. I've definitely seen a lot of academic issues as well. I mean, specifically, I think the biggest thing is the academic gap. We're still seeing that. It's kind of, I mean, I think could be a lot of different things. I mean, the technology, kids at a young age were, stuck at home, like let's say my second graders, they were in preschool. There wasn't as much social interaction. So we're seeing a lot more difficulties with those things. Whereas you feel like, oh, you're in second grade, you should be able to be kind and, understand those things. And sometimes I feel like we're teaching like those skills. Okay, how do we interact with each other? How can we be a community and those things? So I think even though, those kids were in preschool, we're still seeing those effects. Wow. Definitely, academically and behaviorally.
Yeah, I see it in my own kids. I mean, obviously at that time when it all started, we had an 8th grader, a 9th grader, and an 11th grader. I know that, like, I remember because everybody was here, everybody was doing school, and it was like, I go downstairs, and especially my youngest, who this is not going to surprise you, I'd say, how's chemistry going? And he goes, it's horrible. And I was like, okay, keep it up, like trying to be positive, but like it was really hard on everybody. And I can imagine too, as being a teacher as well, that would have been difficult. And it's interesting to hear your perspective on the outcome, because obviously you're going through it. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it makes a lot of sense that they didn't have that academics, but they also didn't have this, like, you learn how to get along with other people in like preschool and kindergarten. You're supposed to kind of learn that. And so now having to kind of like teach that in second grade, that makes a lot of sense. So what's something that has surprised you as a teacher? Like that you would have gone, I'd have never thought that this would be something that I would have to deal with or would come up or whatever.
Yeah, it might seem simple, but I think some of the behaviors, honestly, I think have really shocked me, especially in keep teaching second grade. And I think we go back to that. There's COVID, parenting styles are different now. Overall, I mean, the academics as well. I mean, I think as a college student, I came in like all gung ho, like I think I know everything. I mean, of course, I didn't think I knew everything, but I go in and, using the skills I thought worked with, how to teach reading or how to teach, letters and sounds, and it's not working. Wow. And so I think academically how to teach actually was like the hardest thing. Like I didn't know a lot and I thought I knew, you can only prepare so much in college, or how low some of these kids are too. Hey, you know what? Actually, I'm going to be teaching some things that I thought they would have learned in kindergarten, but there's gaps or things, things that, it's out of their control. It's not parents' fault. There's learning disabilities. There's so much that go into this that can't just blame one thing. Right. So that I think has been very difficult. Yeah.
Wow. What do you think are some misconceptions that parents have of teachers?
I think some parents, especially, when there's an issue or, academically, parents are concerned. I think they sometimes feels like from a teacher's perspective, the kid in the classroom and the teacher are the only two people in the classroom. So sometimes, if you understand what I'm saying, like, why wasn't this addressed, or, why did they do this? And it's like, oh my gosh, we were on the playground and there was so much going on and I totally missed that this happened and I'm so sorry. So some of those things, obviously it's your child. So I can understand where parents are coming from, but there's 28 kids in the classroom. Again, we go back to that. So many kids are needing something at the exact same time. And sometimes it can be, it's sometimes overwhelming.
Right. Yeah. Let me ask you this and I want you to be super honest. And if you don't want to answer this, you don't have to. But like, I always was worried that the teachers were judging me as a parent. Do you judge?
Okay. I mean, honestly, that's the thing. I think sometimes, possibly, but for the most part, no. Like, I think I'm happy with the way I started because I really thought I really felt like I didn't know enough. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
And then once I really got into, some of the techniques and the things that I learned, strategies that work with kids, if a kid comes to me that is really low, doesn't know stuff, I don't immediately go to the parent.
Okay.
I think honestly, I kind of sometimes blame if they came from another school. But I judge other schools probably more than parents.
Okay.
So I'm going to be honest. Like, okay, maybe if they were okay, yeah. So I think because the kids are there, kids are at school for 6-7 hours a day. Like
That's true.
The kids coming to me and they're like, they've been in kindergarten, first grade. I'm like, what were they doing at the other school? So
Right.
I don't necessarily. So
okay.
that is my honest answer. I mean, maybe for different situations, but I'm not going to look at a kid and be like, okay, this is the parents' fault. Because again, we have so many other factors that.
Right. Okay. That's nice to know. Although I will tell you a story. So when Alex was in kindergarten, she's my oldest, she and I would not fight about clothing choices. And that girl, because it was probably your mother who said to me, that's not a battle you want to have. So just let her wear whatever whatever is like normal for the time of year. And so she one day went in with like a striped plaid dress and like polka dot pants. And she had like a big, and so I said to her teacher, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like she has a mother. And the teacher was like, oh no, she's fine. And I was like, no, like, so I think that there's times when I probably put more into that. And the teachers are probably like, she's not, what she's wearing is not the problem around here. That's not what we're looking at. But,
I don't care what they're wearing.
As long as you're covered up and it's like weather appropriate, right?
Yes. Yeah. Right. That's hilarious.
I'm sorry. I just had to share that story because I still think about Alex like walking into school and I'd be going, oh my goodness, what is she?
The teacher probably thought, wow, mom is letting her be herself. She's, individuality. Like, that's awesome.
That's super nice of you to say. That's super nice of you to say. I don't know if that was the case. They were fine with it. So I was like, this is what she's picked. It's what she wants. I'm letting it be. So the other funny thing was that then they had like a mismatch day one day and she didn't know what that meant. She was like, I don't get it. I go, just be normal. Just wear what you normally would. You'll be fine.
That's awesome.
Her little kindergarten self. She'll be so embarrassed that I'm talking about this. But what is one thing or multiple things that parents can do today to help teachers to support you guys?
Yeah. To be honest, a big one, and I think this is from like young to older, like middle school and high school. I mean, limiting electronics. I think that really, it's a huge thing. And I know a lot of parents do, but we see, I'm expecting a second grader to come in at 7:30 and leave at 2:15. And essentially like, we're only having Chromebooks, and it's very bare minimum Chromebook use.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying that is a lot of parents, a lot of kids have phones, even in second grade.
Wow.
A lot of kids are watching TV constantly, so they come to school and we're saying, essentially, we're not doing any computers, we're not doing any electronics. So that's the fight, right? At school, we have basically no electronics. And then to home, kids are on, tablets like all night sometimes,
right.
Which I hear parents say that. And it's like, oh my gosh, how can we expect a kid to come in ready to learn when they, have just been staring at a screen for hours? Again, That's not all parents, but
no.
Yeah, that's a battle in itself. And, middle school and high school, I'm sure, deal with that as well.
Mm-hmm. I know that has been something that I was super grateful for because my kids are now 20, 18, and 17. And maybe you can look back on this too and say that COVID changed things for us as parents because they didn't have any other way to communicate with their friends. Yeah. And obviously, our kids were 9th grade, 10th grade, and, a senior in high school. I'm glad we didn't do all that back then. I'm glad that we didn't have, I see the influence that it has now at 2018 and 17. And I see how it's affecting some of my kids' peers. And so you're right. That small little brain is being stimulated in a way that's very different than what you are trying to do. And I can understand why you would see them behavior that way. Absolutely.
Right.
So when it comes to supporting a teacher or the other thing that I want to ask you, and I didn't put this on our list. What's the best gift you've ever gotten from a parent?
What's the best gift?
Like,
that's a great,
you know what I'm saying, right? Like they give you at the end of the year or Christmas gift or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I think there was a kid that kids give me notes, and I think that's honestly the best, probably like actual like kids like giving me writing their own thing. But no, last year a parent super and we don't get a ton of gifts. I think just with the population we serve, there was a parent that, her child was pretty difficult, and she understood it, and she was very grateful, and she gave us I think she gave us like 2 gift cards, and it was really a big note, and I think the note made it the best. When you have a more difficult child, again, they have some learning, and things, unique selves. But the parent is, it was like a partnership all year long. We're both in this, like we're helping you, you're helping us. So that was pretty. I think that was the one that comes to my mind.
If a parent were to send you a note of encouragement, or have a child send you a note of encouragement, how does that sit with you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for sure. That's just one of the best things I think about the job. I mean, what other job is kids writing you notes all the time and telling you that they love you. So that definitely makes, and then parents have done that as well, and it means a whole lot, yeah, to me. And I'm sure other teachers do.
So one final question, physically, in the physical way of what teachers need, what is the best support that parents can give to teachers, whether it be the physical thing, like we need tissues, we need wipes, or, whatever, like, I don't know what that is, but then like, or like physically, what is the biggest support that they can do for you guys as teachers to show their support?
Yeah, I think the thing I said before about, the partnership thing, viewing it not as like parents bringing their child to school and realizing that, okay, the way that my child behaves, the academics, all those things come into play. Like all of those things matter, and having that partnership is going to be the biggest thing for us. What I mean by that, giving an example, like, okay, a kid is constantly, not wanting to sit down. Okay, they're constantly wanting to move around, and they're calling out, and, okay, let's talk to the parent. Okay, this is what's happening. Possibly even calling the parent during the day. If these behaviors are more extreme, rather than being like, okay, I dropped my kid off, peace, I'll pick them up at 2:15. Okay, this is what your child's doing. Can you help us with this? What are some tips maybe that we could have? And also academic, working with your child. Having, we're giving them homework. Look at that homework. See if see what we're seeing, rather than at parent teacher conferences. That's the first time I've talked to you, and then you're like, oh my gosh, these are concerned. Let's already know by parent teacher conferences what's going on in the classroom. Right. Even if your child is being, is totally on grade level, and is exceeding. Okay, how can we challenge the child then? At least I think that means the most, and I have the most just like life-giving conversations, and even with the child, when the parent is on board and understands where we are. I think that honestly is the best.
Yeah. That's good, because I do think there's times when parents think, if I can just get him to school, But then it's like, no, there's still a lot to do, here at home to support, like you said, looking at homework, following up with things, and having those conversations. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why for a lot of the kids' elementary school, for most of it, I worked as like an aide in the school, because I wanted to be there. Like I wanted to know the kids that they were in their classes. I wanted to know the teachers, and I wanted to say, if there's something going on, you need to talk to me right away, that kind of thing. And so, cause I was like, no, I'm not playing, I'm sure you
were cool.
But not everybody can do that, obviously, but like that type of thing, like making your presence known and saying, hey, you can talk to me. I'm here to support what's happening, that kind of thing. That's really cool. That's good. Well, hey, thanks for joining me today, Katie. I appreciate your insight about teachers.
Thank you so much for having me.